Hi, I'm Chad Lang, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about illogical logic and destructive social influence in the church that I grew up in, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm going to start with this book here, just reading a little bit out of that, the Double Bind in Mormonism. And I'm just going to jump right in here with both feet. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, better known as the Mormon Church, and also referred to Mormonism, contains at its psychological basis this pattern. I was raised almost exclusively within its environment, was married in the Mormon Temple in 1950, raised 6 children, and was to live a life dedicated to the death covenants exacted in the temple. Mormonism is not the only corporation of its kind to be based on this pattern, but it is where I first discovered it. In extending the ramifications of this pattern, it is to its logical end, it is found that it causes the very problems it claims to be able to cure by the use of the cause. It is a circular system used to control others, which reverses the possible evolution towards intellectual integrity, a form of de-evolution, and in its extreme form leads to mental havoc and possible madness. Yet at the same time, it claims to be the means of obtaining peace of mind through intelligence. In other words, the pattern is a form of illogical logic. Needless to say, I found out what was wrong with me. My ability to think rationally, to question, was condemning me. And so now I'm going to give an example of this illogical logic that they teach you, and this is Book of Mormon Evidences. I picked this book up at the LDS bookstore in Cardston, and that's something I research a lot too, is what evidences are there of the Book of Mormon. That's a whole other subject, and it does better than a lot of people think, actually. But I'm going to get into this illogical logic. I'm picking on this one because it's in writing. This is between a missionary and investigator about the word of wisdom, and the investigator has concerns about, drinking tea being unhealthy or spiritually bad or damning or whatever, and they just kind of get into it here. Missionary, the word of wisdom is a law of health given by revelation. It says that we should not drink alcohol, coffee, or tea, and we should not smoke tobacco. Investigator, I don't drink alcohol or smoke, but I do drink tea. My doctor told me that it would be good for me. Missionary, I think I understand what you're saying. Since it seems like drinking tea would be medically good for you, not to drink it seems like a bad idea. Is that right? Yes. Missionary, let me show you something. In Doctrine and Covenants 89:9, we are told not to use hot drinks. Investigator, so we can't even have super hot chocolate? Missionary, not quite. Later, the prophet Joseph Smith explained that hot drinks meant tea and coffee. That's historically inaccurate. Watch a very good video called The Word of Wisdom by Mormon Facts on YouTube, and they will explain some things there that are more historically accurate about the whole hot drinks thing. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But this illogical logic is coming up really quick here. Investigator, no offense, but I don't know if I can believe that. Missionary, well, let's look at it this way. So here it is. If Joseph Smith really was a prophet, then we should follow what he said, right? Investigator, yeah. Missionary, so the question that we have to decide isn't really about drinking tea, it's whether or not Joseph Smith was a prophet. And if the Book of Mormon is true, listen very carefully here, and if the Book of Mormon is true, then we know that Joseph Smith was a prophet. Investigator, I see what you mean. Missionary, so the question is the Book of Mormon true? Because if it is, then Joseph Smith was a prophet, and the revelation not to drink tea is from God. Investigator, so I need to find out whether the Book of Mormon is true. Missionary, exactly. So now I'm going to show you the Book of Mormon. But this Book of Mormon is not like this Book of Mormon. This Book of Mormon has the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints right on its cover. This Book of Mormon does not, because this Book of Mormon is not a production of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I got this Book of Mormon from one of the break-off denominations, the Temple-Lot Mormons down in Independence, Missouri, who broke away from the Saints after Joseph Smith died and went back to fundamentalist 1835 Mormonism. They're not polygamists. So, by the logic in this book, which I just read, if the Book of Mormon is true, then Joseph Smith's a prophet and the church is true. Correct? Well, what if this was my first exposure to the Book of Mormon? Or anyone else's? I was just at a lecture hosted by Community of Christ, another break-off group, and they're lifelong members of the Community of Christ there. They have the Book of Mormon. So by this logic, if the Book of Mormon is true, then Joseph Smith was a prophet and their church is true, correct? A Latter-day Saint would say no. They would be morally horrified if you came to any conclusion that was not the Salt Lake City-based church is true. So, does this logic hold up to reasonable critical examination? No, it does not. And a Latter-day Saint would try to now justify to me why it's okay to accept that logic in that situation and not accept it in the situation that I just mentioned. Well, either the logic holds up or it doesn't. So, there you go. And what I find I have a problem with, I'm going to read from a book called Freedom of Mind by Stephen Hassan, who is America's top leading cult expert. And on page 21, page 21, what is destructive social influence? Point 5, which I've highlighted, says, create a tightly controlled system with a closed system of logic where dissenters feel their questioning indicates something is inherently wrong with them. And I have found my whole life in that church that I feel that I've been made to feel that if I'm questioning things, then there's something spiritually wrong with me. And that is, according to this book, a cult mind control technique. So, one more story. A friend of mine joined the church. He read the Book of Mormon and he liked it and he joined the church. And he was not prepared for how closed-minded and judgmental a lot of people are. And he was just like, whoa, I did not sign up for this when he started going. And he brought a New Living Translation Bible into church with him one day. And he was told that, no, that is an incorrect translation of the Bible. It has to be the King James Version because Joseph Smith said this and this. And that book is going to lead you astray because it's got incorrect passages in it. And it's like, well, wait a second. Any fool can go on their phone and look up a passage of scripture and on Google and come to BibleHub.com, which will show you all of the translations, and you can compare them all right there on your phone. And anyways, to me, when I look at it and I read it, I see no justification for the wording being different enough for this idea that the King James Version of the Bible is somehow translated more superiorly than any of the other translations. And actually, Christian apologists will tell you that too. They will ask a Latter-day Saint, well, what do you know about biblical translations and, you know, the Greek texts and the numerous copies that they have and how much, you know, educated translators pour over this and do everything they can to get it right, you know, as best they can. And even with all the different translations, the wording isn't that much different. I would challenge a Latter-day Saint to show me a passage of Scripture where the wording in two different Bibles is unique enough between each other to justify a misinterpretation. Because you can have multiple interpretations even for the Book of Mormon on certain things. And I've read some of those scriptures and sent that video to my family, which some of them didn't like very much. But the fact of the matter is that if you're not willing to accept the LDS explanation that Joseph Smith said this and this, and therefore the King James Version is the most correct one, because that's the one he had, that's the one he was the most familiar with, and it's the one that the Book of Mormon sounds the most like, because he was very good at interweaving King James English and making it his own when he was speaking prophetically. And this is historically demonstratable too. If you don't come to the conclusion that they want you to, you're a bad person, or you're in spiritual darkness, or whatever the case may be. You're made to feel like how it says in here, where dissenting and questioning makes you feel like there's something inherently wrong with you. And that's wrong. It's cult mind control, and LDS people need to be made aware of that so they can change their approach and kind of grow up a little bit and stop being so indoctrinated. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm Chad Wang, signing off. Peace out.